Hello my culinary friends, and welcome to another edition of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. Today we're going to make a nice rustic Polish dish. This is fried cabbage. It's my fried cabbage recipe. I've got a little twist in it I'll show you in a little bit that my wife likes. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want a nice big frying pan. You could probably do this in a nice big pot too, but I think it works out a little easier in a frying pan. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take about 6 tablespoons of good extra virgin olive oil. You put that in an already heated pan. And then you're going to take 1 onion that I've sliced up in sliced wedges like this. And you can hear right away, because I had that pan smoking hot, right away that onion begins to cook and fry up. We're going to cook this down just a little bit. And while this is going, we're going to now add a teaspoon of red chili flakes and a teaspoon of caraway seeds. We're going to toast those in with the onions. We're going to move all that around. I'm going to turn it on. I got this going. I'm going to turn the heat down to about a medium. We're going to get that oil flavored with both the caraway seeds, the onion, and those red pepper flakes. And you might be concerned about the amount of red pepper flakes. Don't be worried, because that's really not going to be too much. There's a lot going on here, and it's going to be just right on. It's going to give you a little bit of a touch of a kick. Next thing, we're going to throw in 5 to 6 slivered or sliced garlic cloves. I'm going to move these around, and we're going to want to make sure that we never burn the garlic. We're going to toast the garlic a little bit, get that going. Once the onions become a little more translucent, we're going to add the cabbage. This dish comes together fairly quickly, at least the initial stages do. So now you can see the onions are becoming a little soft and a little more translucent. And again, that's because we had a piping hot frying pan and we had that oil in there. That oil got hot immediately. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 head of cabbage. You can see I cut it in quartered. I quartered it, and then I sliced it into about 1/2 inch wedges. I'm going to add all that in. This is going to look like a ton, but as you saw when we made the cabbage soup, the cabbage really cooks down really quickly. So if you have any big pieces that are like stuck together, this is the time if you want to take and move that around. So stir this around just a little bit. And because we've got the heat down some, we're going to take and we're going to cover this just for a little bit. And by covering it right now, and again, remember, you've got garlic down below and you've got the onions. But by covering it, what that's going to do is that's going to create some steam. And what I'm going to do now to help and increase the speed at which it wilts, I'm going to get myself, about maybe a 1/2 cup of water, or a full cup. I'll use a full cup at this point. It's roughly about a full cup. And you can hear that all sizzling. Take and stir this around. Just want to make sure again that the garlic is still not burnt, but that's going good. So now that we have this steamed, I'm going to now kick the heat up again to high. And we're going to let this go for a few minutes. And once this is all nice and wilted, Then we'll be adding the rest of the ingredients and things will come together pretty quickly, okay? So it's been about 3 minutes, and what I was doing is about every minute I was lifting up the pot, or the cover off, and I was stirring this around, and then I put the cover back down and let it take and just take and steam again for another minute, and then I would lift the cover up and stir it and so on and so forth for about 3 minutes. And right now, you can see that quite a bit of the volume of that cabbage has reduced, but it hasn't reduced enough. And if we still have some of the moisture down in the bottom of the pan, so this is continuing to soften. The next thing we're going to do is now we're going to add a full cup of wine. And we're going to stir that wine in. And we're going to continue to cook this now on high until that wine is fully evaporated. So I've got that moved in. The next thing I'm going to do, and this is actually it's optional. You don't really have to do this. My wife prefers fried cabbage this way, and that's adding in about I think it's about a 12 to 16 ounce can of drained and rinsed sauerkraut. Again, this is optional. Like I mentioned a few times before, different people like things a different way. There's no right or wrong way. The cabbage or the sauerkraut gives you a little bit of a crunch because that stays a little crunchy still, but you want your cabbage to end up wilting real good. And when we get all of this wine evaporated out, then what we're going to do is we're actually going to caramelize. But that means is you're not really burning, but you're really trying to caramelize a little bit the onion and the sauerkraut that's left. I know it sort of sounds backwards, but the reason why I do it this way, I really want to infuse the flavor of the wine into the cabbage before I actually caramelize it. So this is going to take a little while for all the wine to evaporate, and I'm not going to cover this, so I'm just going to let it cook on its own. And then we've got I'm sorry, at this point, before we cover it, we're going to take 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and we're going to incorporate that in this. And I have a few things here. If you see, I've got some butter. You might want to write down 6 tablespoons of butter, because that's going to be added right when this is finished caramelizing. So we're going to stir the salt and the pepper in at this point. If I could ask you a favor, if you enjoy watching these and if you're getting something from these videos, which I hope you do, I hope it's inspiring you to try to cook some of these things on your own and even experiment taking the recipes I have and adding some of your own twists, because that's really what cooking's all about. There's no one real perfect way to make everything. You make it your own, and that's what is good about it. So if you could do me a favor, if you could scroll down the screen on YouTube until you see the red letters that say subscribe, if you could click on subscribe, I would certainly appreciate it. That means that when you do that, every time I post a new video, you'll get it. It'll show, or it should show on your Facebook page that I've posted it. So if you could do that favor for me, I'd really appreciate it. So this will take still a few minutes. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that moisture down, then we're going to caramelize it, and then we're going to add kielbasa and butter and heat all that up. And kielbasa, we have smoked kielbasa. I've got 2 long links of that. You might want to write that down, but that will help this whole thing come together. Okay, so let's give some time for this liquid to evaporate. and we'll see where we are in a few. So all the liquid has evaporated out of the pan. You can hear everything sizzling, and that's the bit of the caramelization that we're getting right now. So this really isn't adding liquid, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to now add the 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to incorporate that in. By stirring that in. What that's going to do is that's going to help cut some of the spiciness from the red pepper flakes, but it's going to give the cabbage that little more silky, nice, smooth flavor. Now that I've got the butter in, I'm going to take, and this is smoked kielbasa. You might ask, why am I adding this in at the end? It's my personal preference because all I want to do is warm it up. Smoked kielbasa is fully cooked. If we were using fresh kielbasa, then we would be cooking that ahead of time with the oil, even before we added the onion. But for right now, what we're doing to finish this up is I've incorporated 2 full links, and that's 2 long links. They come together like a bit of a horseshoe. You can use just 1 link if you want. You can cut them up in different sizes, or you don't even have to put it in at all. It's up to you. And if you're German and you want to use bratwurst or knockwurst or something like that instead, you can do that. Again, this is something you make make it the way you want it. This is the way that I make it. This is the way our family likes it. And you see all that nice red color of the wine. That redness is actually there because we added the sauerkraut. If we didn't add the sauerkraut, there wouldn't be as much color, but the sauerkraut really takes in and holds that red wine color. And you actually get a lot more of that wine flavor if you use the sauerkraut as well. Again, you can hear the sizzle. I'm going to let this sit now because, once again, I want some of that cabbage at the bottom to caramelize. It sweetens everything up a little bit, and it'll just be a couple seconds. So what I'd like to ask you, my friends, is if there is a specific dish that you think that you might want to see how it's made, and I should show you something. My wife and I compiled and I put together back in 2014, updated this year, a cookbook. And this cookbook is a listing of all of our family recipes and everything that we've created on our own since then. And there's a few that are in other places. And the cookbook, looks something like that. For example, there's some soup, lentil soup, an Arabic red lentil soup. 2 different types. We do not sell this. I'm not trying to sell this. But we do have about 160 to 170 family recipes. And they're primarily either Middle Eastern, Polish, a few German, and Italian. There's barbecue. There's some Asian, some Mexican recipes in there. So if there's something in particular you might be interested in, most likely I've got a recipe of something that's similar to what you want or exactly what you want. And so if you give me a note on Facebook or my YouTube page, just let me know if there's something that you'd like, and I'd certainly be happy to make it for you and show you how it's made. I've got a bunch of different Italian pasta sauces and other different types of things as well. So this is about done now. This is about where I want it to be. The next thing we have to do is we have to plate this. So I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to set this aside on this other burner. I'm going to get myself a plate. And we're going to add some of this nice fried cabbage and kielbasa pieces in here. And this is one hearty meal. I mean, it's great for the winter time especially, or actually any time of the year. And so get you a better look of this and turn it around. You can see the cabbage mixed up with the sauerkraut with all that kielbasa in there. And this is just, it's a dish that's one of our family favorites. I could eat it once a week, even twice a week. And whether you use smoked kielbasa or any other type of kielbasa, it's just a really great, and it's a simple thing to put together. You just need to give the time to make sure that the cabbage takes some wilts, and you want to do some caramelization of it, getting all that moisture out. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you'll give the fried cabbage recipe a try. And again, if you have any other questions, please let me know. And I want to thank you once again for watching another episode of Papa Bojo's Kitchen. Buon appetito, everybody, and see you again.